Talking F1 with Steve, Neil and the Gov. Hello, good afternoon, good evening rather, my friends. And you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday night Formula One pit stop. Apologies on the lateness of the show. We are 15 minutes past our normal scheduled timings. If you're joining us live, that's completely my fault. I had a pre-record to do with the Derby County fans. So if you're one of our Talking Town viewers, keep your eyes out for that. I've met a Derby County fan to discuss them coming down to League One. But we're here for the Formula One fan show live, talking F1. I am the Gov. I am be joined with Steve and Neil in just a moment. But first of all, if you're watching us live, please do get involved. A live chat is there to do so. Have your say on anything to do with F1. We have no talking points set except for the French Grand Prix preview. So literally, the floor is yours. Have your say. You raise a point. You ask a question. I'll get the lads to answer it. I'll get them to give an in-depth opinion. We do not sit on the fence here at HDR Media. Alternatively, we'll just rattle some ideas around that we've got and have a little bit of fun before we get to the French Grand Prix preview. You can catch us on audio platforms, Talking F1 Fan Show Live. Drop a like, drop a subscribe, get involved. As it's hot, and it says too hot to type. Well, just type a few bullet points. Don't worry about that. We'll do the talking in the heat, Adam, might add. You know, if it's too hot to type, is it too hot to talk? I don't know. Well, I'll go ahead and bring them both in. No intros. As it's hot, we'll get running and rolling. Here is the aficionado, Mr. Thompson. Now, you've had a fan every week so far. I'm guessing the fan's not strong enough this week.
No, I've got a Labrador tail, but she's gone off somewhere. So I'm just sitting here sweltering at the minute because there's no airflow up here.
No, well, no. I'm here with two green screen lights and a big old desktop. I'm literally baking. I could swim in my own sweat.
Nice. There you go.
No, it's not. Well, I do shower regularly, so it's all good. And our fellow contributor is Mr. Positivity, Neil Moles. Neil,
hello.
Are you enjoying this beautiful British summer sun?
Not really.
Not really. Oh dear. Oh dear. Now, it was your stag.
Can I have a bit of 17 degrees instead?
No, you cannot. I'm just going to ask. Oh. It was your stag this weekend. Have you recovered? First point of view. Marginally. Well, then we didn't do our job. Are you still hungover?
No.
That's a shame. So the heat's not really getting you as badly as it would have done it had you still been hungover then.
Yeah, it'd have been fairly terrible.
It would have been fairly terrible. How was yesterday? Did you spend much time hugging any porcelain?
Have you been talking to anyone?
I haven't been talking to nobody, Mr. Miles. I have no sources. I have no whisperers. But I'm asking you a question. Were you hugging some porcelain yesterday?
I woke up. Well, to be fair, I got in at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Good and man. From that point onwards, I was a little bit ill.
You were hugging the porcelain?
Obviously got up a little bit later to then get the train. And
did you make the train?
Spent the whole time in the toilet of that first train, all the way from Newcastle to Peterborough. And then spent the time we were at Peterborough Station in the toilet. And it was only the final leg that I was actually able to talk to my friends.
Well, then mission accomplished, right, Steve?
Yeah.
I had too many randos this time. They wanted to mess me up as well.
Oh, that happens on stags. Don't worry. We've got a part 2 coming up. We'll get Steve along. I'm sure Steve will want to get the Zambuca. You strike me as a Zambuca sort of drinker, Steve.
I'm not, no.
No? Tequila?
No, I will stick with rum. That's my main go-to.
What sort of shots did you have over the weekend, Neil? Or was there so many you can't remember?
All of the normals. Sambucas are the easy ones. It's just I hate the tequilas. The old licking the salt and sucking the lemon. It's just not for me. And then you get a bit of was it Jack Daniels, a shot of that or something along those lines, and all sorts of different things.
Sounds like
few Jaeger bombs. As I told Steve, have wine for breakfast.
What? Whoa. I always find wine deadly. There's no cut-off point with wine. You're either fine or you're gone. There's no cut-off with wine. But as we're talking about drinking, or nights out rather, out of all the F1 current drivers, who would you like to go on a night out with, and why? Steve?
Ooh, I think that's gonna. There's a few candidates.
If you had said 1 year ago, the answer was easy a year ago. Yeah,
Kimi. If you're basing it on this season or this, these current guys, I'm gonna have to say Danny Rick. I reckon he's a laugh out of the drink.
Rick. Okay. What makes you think Danny Rick's a laugh when he's out and about?
Because look at him when he's sober. He's always having a laugh. He's always joking around most of the time. When he's sober, he's great. He seems like great company. He seems like the kind of guy you could just go for a few beers with, go on a night out with. I reckon he'd be all right with that.
Oh, yeah. Do you think he'd be a rum guy, or what sort of drink do you think old Danny Rick is sort of,
I can see him down in the Desperados.
Well, talk about Desperados. That's a good little segue, that, Steve, because it has been Desperado Central for Danny Rick at McLaren. Lando coming out today, or coming out at some point over the weekend, saying he can understand the struggles that McLaren has had with the MCL 3.6 car this year. He himself has taken to sort of releasing statements about his own future. This is for me as a new fan, it's sort of come out of nowhere, Steve. Has it been brewing for a while, or is it a storm in a teacup?
I think something's been brewing for a while. There's obviously been a lot of speculation about Ricciardo and where he's going to be, if he's going to be on the grid at all next year, because his performances compared to Lando, not just this year, but going back to their previous year as teammates as well, haven't been great. Yes, he won last year's Italian Grand Prix, but apart from that, there's no other podiums. Lando's got a good handful of podiums the past couple of years. You've had someone like Pierre Gasly, who's obviously quite a hot property, rumoured to be going to McLaren. Apparently, even people like Sebastian Vettel were linked to this seat for next year, and Oscar Piastri, Colton Herta. But Ricciardo's come out and said he's not going anywhere for next year. He's going to see his contract out. They've got this contract. And it seems like he's going to be in a McLaren next year, which I am very happy for, because I honestly believe he can turn it around. Is
it situations like this, Neil, where the team game of Formula One suddenly is exposed to be what it really is, and that's an individual member of a wider organization? Because I asked that, or posed that type of speech, because reading what is written here on the F1.com site, Lando Norris, I understand certain parts of it. The rest of it, at the same time, I just focus on myself. And that's all you know. As much as I'm willing to help and offer advice and answer questions, it's not like I go out there only to try and do that. I still have to focus on my own race. It's not really endorsing Ricciardo, but kind of saying, I'm looking after me. I've got to look after myself. But I can kind of get where he's struggling. Is this where you suddenly think it's not really a team game? It's actually an individual driver game. And your teammate can make you look really bad in the sense of how good he is, Lando Norris.
Yeah, I think we had something similar to that when Jensen won the championship and he then went to McLaren, and then he came with a stable background and family, because even though you say you're part of a team, really it's all of the people you get around you, the stable background you have, and they can help you through the challenges, and sometimes when the highs are high, everything just works out for you anyway. And at that time, Lewis was on the other side and he was struggling. And yeah, as great as he is, at that time, Jensen was showing him up. So
the same way young Lando Norris is
the way it works. Yeah. People just love Lando. It's a fickle thing with any sport, isn't it? Where if Danny Rick just suddenly started performing again, everyone would suddenly be behind him, and as if nothing had ever happened. And obviously the poor bloke's had to go through this short term of nothing's really working for him.
Do ages come into it? Obviously Lando's 22, Danny Ricciardo's 33. It seems like an obvious question, but I'll ask it anyway to you, Neil. Is that a major factor when you're looking at the driver performance, that one is 10 years younger than the other and is outperforming his senior?
I'd only say that comes into it with you might give them longer because you know of previous. Yeah. You know they've got it there.
Trust.
Yeah. What he's won before. But on the other hand, you've that can be a negative because they'd say we've potentially got hot prospects that could be doing better.
Yeah, and you're managing that sort of the decline, I guess, Neil, where the driver could be on his way down performance wise.
Yeah,
It's
Go on, Steve.
for him, I think is similar to Kimi in a way that even if he did happen to step away from Formula One, there's plenty of other things he could enjoy himself doing.
I think with that, there's a very sort of similar thing to Fernando. Fernando's 40. He's still the same old Fernando. He's still that Fernando Alonso we've known for years. He's still ruthless and determined. He doesn't show any sign of slowing down. But, he's 40 years old. You've got the likes of Oscar Piastri in the wings who are hungry for an F1 seat, part of this young driver academy, and you've got Fernando there. But you're going to keep hold of him because he is Fernando Alonso, one of the best drivers of his generation. Double world champion. Could have been more.
Still giving you all these young drivers a bit of this.
Sonoda a bit of that. That was fantastic. Love to see that. Fantastic. And he's still one of the best drivers on the grid at 40 years old. He's not got the machinery, but hopefully, because there's rumours he's close to signing for a further 2 years, which will be fantastic. I think the last time we had someone that old in Formula One probably would have been Schumacher in his comeback.
Nigel Mansell said to him, he's looking as young as ever.
Yeah, and he is. The guy doesn't age. I mean, obviously there's the little bit, but he still looks youthful and happy and determined. And yeah, I would love to see Fernando win a third championship. I can't see it unless Alpine have got something really, really good up their sleeve, or the top teams really drop the ball. But how great would that be? He's finally managed to do it, because he could have been at least like a 3 or 4 time world champion had he made the right career moves at the right time. But
he's not. He could, but
did you hear the other weekend at the Austrian Grand Prix? They had a loose wheel. The gun on the front left didn't do the wheel up properly. So he in code tried to not say his wheel was loose, but he's coming in the pit again to try not to get a penalty, because obviously it would have been an unsafe release. But they noticed it on the screens anyway, and they got docked anyhow. So
he's
all of his
box, Fernando.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to learn the tips of the trade. The tricks of the trade, as they were.
Just come in for a set of tyres, and after he's come out, it's box, and they're like, "Why?"
Yeah. Well,
just box, boys.
Do the stewards become aware of that? Even if they do, like, if you know it, Neil, they must know it. Does something become of it, or is it?
I'm not sure. Is it just a fine, or did he get any positions? I must admit, I haven't looked again. But yeah. So basically, that's what would have happened. The team would have been fined for an unsafe release.
Okay. Harry FC, George Russell, good fun person at parties. Neil,
I must admit, I don't know a lot about him, and I don't know.
Who'd you go for, Neil? Who would you want on that stag do with you from the F1 world, if you could choose? Current F1 world, not past, because that's not fair.
James Hunt.
No, he'd end up drinking us under the table.
True.
Nothing wrong with that. But anyway, go on, Steve. Neil, current drivers. Can't have Danny Ricciardo. He's busy at Steve's party. Can't have him. He's already on. You phone him up. Now he's busy with Steve. Who you having next?
I don't know. What about a bit of Valtteri Bottas? He's a bit quiet the rest of the time, so you think, while he's having a knees up, he's probably quite a character.
I reckon he's a dark horse,
I reckon a Bottas night out is going to be very different to a Ricciardo. I reckon that's going to be in a wine bar. It's quiet, sophisticated.
Oh, yeah.
There's whiskey
tumblers, if his buying,
ball-shaped ices in there, whiskey. Yeah, he's fine.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's more like a book review than a night out.
I reckon so.
What have you been reading recently? What's in the library? Yeah, I like that. But talking of Bottas, as you've brought him up, let's go there then, Neil. His first year in, I'm going to have a guess here because I've got the notes. Alfa Romeo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you're right.
Thank you. Oh, wow, I'm paying attention. How have you rated so far his first half a year in the Alpha? Is it being as expected, as advertised, underwhelmed, overperformed? Where is Valtteri at the moment?
I'd say it started really well. It's tailed off a little bit, but then that team, they've underperformed of late, so that doesn't really help. You struggle to gauge where the man is because the machinery's not there to help him.
Is that thing is though, he's sandwiched at the moment in ninth between Alonso and Ocon, the two Alpines. Is that not really where Alpha would have wanted to be? Had we sort of done an early season prediction for him, if just in that midfield battle, not a million miles away from Ocon is Bottas. He's only 7 points, I think. You could argue he's bang on where they want him to be.
Yeah, it's almost one of those where at the start of the season you'd be chuffed as anything with it, but how they started and who they were fighting with, if things went well, they could have made a third place on the podium sort of thing. But yeah, obviously things just didn't work out, and he had some early good performances, and now they're playing a little bit of catch up.
Yeah, cooled off a little, Steve. But if I'd said to you when we started in the pre-season of F1 that the only cars ahead of a Alfa Romeo would be one Alpine, McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari alongside Red Bull, you would have kind of gone, yes, please.
I'd have taken that, considering they had a pretty disastrous pre-season as well. A few reliability issues. Looking at him, his results, he's been in the points in all but 4 races this year, which is decent. 3 of those 4 have come in the last 4 races. So, 9th place, 46 points he's on. So he's 6 shy of Esteban Ocon. But yeah, he's doing all right. He's, I think, stepping back from Mercedes, obviously where he's used to competing for the podium, and then into a team which really struggled last year. They've had a good turnaround, and I think they can be happy with what they've got. They've got a solid lineup there, I think, for the future.
Before we go to the French preview, 2 drivers that are sort of perplexing me a little bit. I'll break them up. I'll divide them between the 2 of you. Neil, first up, I'll come to yourself. Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin, 3 points on the campaign so far. His teammate, Sebastian Vettel, 15 points. Big gap between the 2 drivers. Is that car? Is that ability of driver? Lance Stroll, is he in trouble? Is his F1 seat, career, future in jeopardy?
We sort of touched this one last episode, but he's got to be really near the exit, hasn't he? Unless something seriously happens, because I wouldn't say that Seb, as much as we love him, that his performing is anywhere near he should be. He seems to be getting in a lot of crashes, little collisions with others, so he seems to be struggling. Otherwise, I'd have expected him to have way more than 15. But every time you see in qualifying, that car's right near the bottom. That's not anywhere near where they want to be, especially after the upgrades they brought. But as much as they like to say they were their own plans, they don't seem to know how they work.
No. It's just, the only driver worse than Stroll points-wise is Nicholas Latifi, and
we know what we think of him as well.
That ain't a place you want to be. That ain't a place you want to be. But another driver, Steve.
It's unfortunate that they're both the same nationality as well. So
Team Canada right down the bottom.
Canada. Yeah. Oh, I didn't realise that. Okay. Another new driver, or a new driver. Not that Lance Stroll is new, although he is performing like a new driver. Zhao, Alfa Romeo. We talked about Bottas getting so much out of his in 9th. Well, Zhao was in 17th on 5 points. How is his rookie campaign going? It's taken a while for him. Is he starting to warm up to it? Is his consistency issues? What's the issue with this Alpha and Zhao?
Zhao's had a couple of reliability issues. There's been some retirements there which haven't been his fault. Obviously Silverstone as well turned upside down. That wasn't his fault. He was just wrong place, wrong time. a 10th on his debut, which wasn't too bad. Since then, he's only had one more points finish, which was in Canada, 8th place. He looks decent. I mean, in the races, he seems more than capable of taking the fight to Bottas and putting that car sort of around the fringes of Q3. But yeah, there have been some mistakes, but you can expect that from a rookie. A lot of it has been down to mechanical problems. I think he had 2 or 3 mechanical problems in a row, which ended races or caused problems. So I think he's doing okay. I don't want to judge him too much yet. We're halfway through his first season. The car is there, and I think now he's starting to find his feet a bit more. Like he did look decent in Canada. Obviously, Silverstone, not his fault. And 14th, 15th in Austria. I'm confident he'll get there, but judge him more. A bit like Schumacher, judge him more next year when he's got the ability to compete with the guys around him. I think.
Okay.
Obviously,
I think on the whole, he's performed fairly well. Yeah, had a few bits here and there which he obviously will look at and think, I can improve on that. But I think it's a solid start for him, and I can only imagine Valtteri is helping him out. And
okay, good question from the chat there, Neil. Ian Barron, silly question. No silly questions here, Ian. Unless the ones I'm asking. The problem with this season is the car. The problem with this season, it seems topsy turvy to me.
Well, they've decided that they suddenly want to mess around with because there's only the first section of the plank which they test for however many millimeters of deflection, and now they're deciding, even though in words and agreement verbally that the whole floor was going to be that amount of deflection, certain teams have decided, oh well, it's not written down on paper, so we'll do what we want. And now they've decided that the FIA that they want to put it down on paper, and they're going to actually have it tested. So there was all sorts of things, because the cars are run really stiff. They've got really basic suspension, and I was told, or as the fans, we've been informed that the suspension is that way because the tricks they were using on other seasons, the FIA had no idea how it worked. The teams obviously didn't want to divulge their secrets, so it's really basic stuff, and it's run so stiff so they can get the floor that is working really hard this season, as close to the ground as possible. And obviously they're colliding with the ground quite a lot, and we're just getting all this bouncing going on, and all of this new scenarios we're finding, it's making it a bit topsy-turvy.
There we go. I hope that answers the question there, Ian. Right, French Grand Prix. I have got the Williams poster for you to look at as an advertisement from Reddit. Let me try and see if I can make that a little bit bigger.
That's cool. I like that.
Do you like that?
I love that.
Do you? Okay. I'll try and make it a little bit bigger for you.
Oh.
Yeah, all right. No jokes there, people. Let's see if that works. There we go. How's that for you? Neil?
Has Steve disappeared?
Steve disappeared. There, he's back. He's back.
Sorry, I lost connection for some reason.
That's all right. That's your team, my man. What do you make of that?
Oh, isn't it beautiful? Yeah, no, I like that. Hopefully it's going to be a good weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing with upgrades. I know only Alex was running the newer car in Silverstone in Austria. Whether they'll have both cars with it in Paul Ricard, I don't know. But I'm looking forward to it. It's historically a bit of a dull circuit, but last year was actually quite good.
Okay. Historically a dull circuit. As a new fan, I don't really want to be hearing that. But as we've had the Williams poster, it's only fair we come to your team, Neil, and we show you the McLaren French Grand Prix promotional poster, courtesy of F1 Reddit.
You got the smiles there.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, one needs to be smiling because he's not doing very well. The other one's just got that sort of, I know I'm good watch me air. I won't tell you which one's which.
You do, but if you watch him on any daytime TV where he gets interviewed, he is very much like this young man who he's glad he's good at driving because he's not sure quite what else he'd be doing. And he certainly wouldn't be paid as much money for doing it.
Well, no, this is it. No. He'd probably be one like we are, a streamer, a podcaster. I don't know, an electrician.
Well, he does say that, doesn't he? Especially when we had the whole COVID hit and they were doing all their streaming. You know, he was stopping his streaming job so he could drive racing cars.
Yeah, that's it. He's a streamer who races cars or something.
Yeah, and a golfer.
Yeah, well, you got to be careful with that streaming. It has caught a few people out. £2 from Metal Jace towards a new air-conditioned studio. Metal Jace, we may need a bit more than £2 for an air-conditioned unit, but it's a start.
It's a good start.
Towards the AC fund. We are getting there. I'm going to have to go and sort of get my armbands on to paddle in my own sweat in a minute. But French Grand Prix, I'd ask you 3 questions to do with the French Grand Prix. Steve's already answered one of his. So
Neil, is it in France? Yes, it is mine.
Well, I hope it is, to be French. I mean, you know, what do you expect from the race this year, Neil? Obviously, Steve's already answered what he thinks of it. What do you think of it?
Well, yeah, it should be okay. But last season was okay, and I don't see any reason why these new cars would ruin it. So I think, it'll be better than, as Steve mentioned, of previous seasons where it was dreadful. I think we're still in the realms of seeing something decent.
Yeah. I find the French Grand Prix to be the easiest one to race on Formula One on the Xbox. I find it the most easiest track to sort of master outside Bahrain. I think it's
Monza, dead easy.
What's the one with the tight turn, Neil?
Oh, you're talking about Baku, where you were going drifted too far left up the start-finish straight, and there's that little bend, isn't there? And you nailed.
I've got a clip of that.
And stopped rather quickly.
Stopped rather quickly. The whole it was a nightmare. But okay, so I find the French Grand Prix easier. Where do you think? Actually, we'll go to Harry FC's question. Why not? We'll use one of them for 2 of the 3. Do you think Hamilton or Russell will get their first win this weekend, Steve?
No.
Neil?
No.
No, both no. Do you want to elaborate a bit more, Steve? Do you want to add a bit more meat to that bone, or just say no?
Even though the Mercedes is getting closer and closer to the front, was it 3 podiums in a row for Hamilton now? Because he has been quite fortunate with incidents around him. Not just down to that, of course, the Mercedes is looking better, but I just think the Red Bulls and the Ferraris are just still light years ahead. I reckon the Ferraris has got so much power in a straight line, and the Red Bulls just great round corners. I think Mercedes has still got a little bit of catching up to do.
Okay.
They're supposed to be bringing some engine upgrades, if I heard correctly.
Was that Ferrari or Mercedes?
Mercedes.
Ooh.
Obviously, Ferrari could do with some. Them plans were ablaze the other week.
Oh, yeah, we're going to see Carlos Sainz just turn up in a Flintstone car. There's no engine, just a hole in the bottom.
I like that. That's quite a good one. Can you imagine it?
Still quicker than Latifi.
Still quicker than Latifi. Is that you took the words right out of my mouth? You nicked my joke there. Ian wondered what the weather was going to be like in France this weekend. Well, it's currently not great in France in terms of bushfires. Hope everyone's staying as safe as they can there. We'll wait to see. I've not got a weather report for the weekend, but we've got about 40 seconds left, so 20 seconds each. Give me your top 3, Steve.
Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell.
Leclerc, Verstappen, and George Russell. Neil?
I think it's going to be Verstappen, Perez, and Leclerc.
Okay. Verstappen, Perez, and Leclerc. Why Perez?
I think Red Bull will go around quite well on this one, and I think he's due a slightly better performance where he's not going to get caught up in something. And yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. We've busted out 30 minutes of action for this week without a race. As we close, I want to give you a fun fact. Before we do, Metal Jace, again, thank you for the £2. It's very, very kind of you to do that. Fun fact for you all here, courtesy of @Aldous001 on Twitter. Jenson Button still has a 3-place grid penalty for his next Formula One race in 2017.
Oh, yeah.
Button came back for one-off race in Monaco, standing in for Alonso.
He flipped the car over, didn't he?
500 in the race. Button collided with Pascal Verlaine and received a grid drop for his next race.
Yeah, what a stupid penalty! It's like back in the year of 2015, McLaren Hondas when they got like 60 or 70 place grid penalty, and there's 20 spaces on the grid. Start them from space.
An expiration date on the penalty. Literally, like he could one day at 99 come out of retirement and then still have to suffer that grid penalty.
Yeah,
I guess it's just on his super license, so whenever he rocks up again.
Brilliant. So that's even better. Imagine it, sort of, granddad racing. He can't start first, Jensen.
10 years time, you got a penalty, mate. Why? 2017.
Is there a point at which, because you have to earn a certain level to be able to race, is there a point in which you spend long enough out of the sport that you start getting deducted?
You must do. You must.
I don't know. Well, Schumacher was out.
Because that's the problem with...
For what, 4 years?
Yeah, but I don't know if it's changed since then.
Yeah, maybe.
These IndyCar drivers that are having a go in McLaren, that they can only do certain things because of their super licenses or lack of.
There we go. I delivered to you a fun fact, something for you to chew on over the course of the next 7 days. Steve, while they chew on that, while they think about what Neil has just presented and what the fun fact I've given, tell them all where they can find us this time next week.
Well, it'll be 7:15, back at normal time on Monday, of course, right here after the French Grand Prix. Or hopefully Verstappen hasn't won and Leclerc has closed the gap a little bit more. But yeah, we are back usual time on Monday. So yeah, enjoy the weather. Not too much.
Yeah, don't melt.